All right, y'all, welcome to the show. I hope you're ready to have some fun today because we're going to be doing exactly that. So in just a second, we start off a wee bit serious because the Trump depression is upon us. We're beginning to see the red flags. It's looking ugly, so I have some data that we'll talk about on that front. Then we'll get to Israel is seizing the entire West Bank, building new settlements. The U.S. is blessing them on that. And then we also have some psychopaths in Israel, religious fundamentalist freaks, who are trying to usher in end times with a red heifer. I wish I was kidding, but we live in hell world, and these people rule us, bro. They rule us. So we'll talk about that. Then later on in the show, we have Tim Dillon finally wakes up to Trump's bullshit. He even calls out Alex Jones low-key. I'll play that clip for you. And a fake Justin Bieber impersonator type guy, he ends up duping all of Las Vegas and performing. That's an amazing story. You know, I don't usually cover like pop culture type stuff, but this one was too good. I couldn't let it go. So we'll talk about that as well. All right, you guys know the deal. Everybody please subscribe to the channel. That helps out big time and costs you nothing at all. Also, we're getting close to 2 million subs, bro. Help get us over the hump. Help get us to the big 2 million number. I'd really appreciate that. Please support the show on Patreon, and thank you to everybody who does do that. $2 a month or $5 a month goes a long way. I've never talked to any advertiser, never done an ad read. Very proud of that fact. Zero selling out on this show, bro. And you guys supported from the ground up. Again, I'm deeply appreciative for that. Also, sign up on Substack for Crystal Kyle and friends. We have Richard Ojeda coming on this week, the world's most charismatic man who's running for office. Again, I can't wait to talk to him. That'll be a lot of fun. So sign up on Substack for that. And go support the Corin's World YouTube channel and subscribe over there because we're doing live Kyle and Corin's every Monday at 8:30. All right, y'all, let's dive into it. So let's start with this. We were told when Trump launched his trade war and did his tariffs, we were told it's going to bring back American manufacturing. You're going to have jobs exploding all across this country. They're going to explode. Well, guess what? The data's in. How many companies moved 100% of their manufacturing to the U.S. because of the tariffs? Ready? 0. Donut. Zilch. Nada. So the thing we told you would happen is what actually happened. And what Trump said would happen was dead wrong. Dead wrong. So as Melanie Diarigo points out here, $3,800 is how much more the average U.S. family will spend this year because of tariffs. So no new manufacturing jobs, but you got to spend $3,800 more. Now, by the way, it's actually even worse than this. It's worse than this because Trump outsourced 200,000 jobs his first term in office. And then this time he gets in there. One of the first things he does is he cuts off the funding for Joe Biden's bills. So the CHIPS Act, for example, the infrastructure bill, for example. So Biden was creating 800,000 new manufacturing jobs, and Trump gets in there, cuts off the funding for those bills, and boom, now we don't get those jobs. So he lost us 200,000 manufacturing jobs in the first term, lost us 800,000 in the second term, right? And now we know the tariffs are going to cost you $3,800 more on top of all that. So he could not have been more wrong every single step of the way. But we're just getting started. So on the manufacturing front, we're cooked. And in fact, there were some other companies that were going to build factories here. And they announced, when Trump did the tariffs, they came out and announced, well, we can't build them anymore because we can't afford the raw materials to build the factories now because of the tariffs. Okay, so he's cooking us in 1,000 ways to Sunday. More. July had the highest number of corporate bankruptcies since the COVID pandemic in 2020. So it actually eclipsed that, which means that Donald Trump is worse for the economy than a fucking global pandemic, y'all. That is mind-boggling. That's mind-boggling. The U.S. has now seen 446 large bankruptcy filings in 2025, officially 12% above pandemic levels in 2020. In July alone, the U.S. saw 71 bankruptcies, marking the highest single month total since July 2020. And then they do a whole tweet thread about this, and they basically explain, like, look, yes, it's the trade war. The trade war is the culprit, and that's pretty fucking obvious. They also go on to point out, like, the different companies that got hit as a result of this. Unfortunately, a lot of them are like, 1990s and 2000s, like legendary type companies, like Forever 21, for example. In fact, let me see if I can find it. Several once popular 1990s and 2000s brands are included in the list of bankruptcies. Forever 21, Rite Aid, Party City, Claire's. I think like these earrings I'm wearing, I think are from Claire's, and they cost like fucking like $10 or whatever the fuck. All going under. All going under. So directly because of the trade war, it's now happening. Everything's unraveling. All right, we got more. Let's talk a little bit about the inflation portion of this. Listen to this.
Wholesale prices for domestic fresh and dry vegetables skyrocketed nearly 40% in July compared to a year ago.
You normally don't see a big move in 1 month that much. I mean, the biggest 1 month move for a summer month since I think 1947. That's a big move. Three things happening here: weather and drought. So you've got supply issues, worker shortages, and you've got farmers saying that there are fear on some of these farms of deportation. So they're having a hard time getting some of these crops in, and then tariffs on imported vegetables and food.
So climate change, mass deportations, and trade war. Those are the things that are leading to the spike. In other words, all things that the right is making worse. It's insane. Like, they're destroying the country on purpose.
That's something that can make prices rise for domestic as well. So this is producer level. Will it be passed on to the consumer? Sure. Unclear yet, but we'll know pretty quickly. Very thin margins for food items. Yeah. So this means that grocery store chains will have to eat the costs, pun intended, or we'll have to pass it on, and we'll know pretty soon.
All right, so that's just vegetables. We discussed on this show the other day, coffee. Prices for coffee have skyrocketed, minimum 14%. I've seen as high as like 25%. It's happening, y'all. It's all happening. How about this one? Breaking. A home buyer now must earn $114,627 a year to afford the median-priced U.S. home, per Redfin. This means the average U.S. household income would require a 42% raise to afford the median home. In other words, homeownership is officially a luxury. Homeownership is a luxury. The American dream is so cooked, it is so dead, it is so gone. It's never been more dead and gone. And I think everybody senses that, everybody feels that, everybody knows that, because everybody's struggling. And when there's no hope, that's when you see this increase in political extremism. That's when you see people turning to, some solutions that are pretty out there, because they know, hey, politics as usual hasn't served us well. Politics as usual has actually destroyed us. So that's incredible. All right, I still got another one for you. So this one is kind of sad, but it's also, a bright red flashing indicator that we're in for a world of hurt coming very shortly.
Hi, everyone. I thought I'd share another non-traditional economic indicator that is sounding an alarm, and it's absolutely heart-wrenching. And this economic indicator is a surge in pet owner surrenders. Shelters across the U.S. are reporting a surge in surrenders with financial hardship as the primary driver. The financial hardships are happening as there are job losses, as the everyday cost of living has gone up, and also the cost of caring for a pet have increased. The cost of pet food and treats, beds and toys are all affected by tariffs. So institutions like the Animal Care Center of New York has suspended all intake because of capacity issues. The Charlotte-Mecklenburg Animal Care and Control in North Carolina has reported a 43% surge in animal surrenders versus this time last year. And the Chicago Animal Care and Control has reported that if their surrenders continue at the pace they're at in 2025, they will see 3 times the surrenders in 2025 versus 2024 and 6 times the surrenders versus 2023. And on top of this, adoption rates are also declining, which is heartbreaking. So if you have the resources and ability to adopt a new pet, your local shelter likely really needs your help right now.
So we're already in a recession, bro. We're already in a recession. It's already rough out there, but I hope everybody's ready, because this is going to get a lot worse. This is going to get a lot worse. And I know all you guys, because I've experienced this too myself, I know all you guys have stories from your personal lives of, hey, this guy I know, or this guy I know who's a friend of my friend, or this family member, or whatever. Somebody you know is feeling it. Somebody you know got laid off. Somebody you know is desperately trying to downsize or being evicted or whatever the case may be, because, your government effectively stabbed you in the back. Your government effectively screwed you over, right? Every decision I've made this point 1,000 times, but I'm going to make it 1,000 more. Every decision Trump is making, it's like he's trying to destroy the country. If he was a Manchurian candidate, there would be literally no difference between how he's acting now and if he was a Manchurian candidate. He might as well be. Because, and here's another big part, which again, very few people talk about, but they should, is how much longer is the dollar going to be the world reserve currency? How much longer is that going to be the case? Because I got news for you. Everybody fucking hates us now. We're not good to our word. That alone sort of destroys you in the long run. Pulled out of the Iran agreement, pulled out of the Paris Climate Agreement, stopped abiding by the USMCA, which was the trade deal with Canada that Trump himself negotiated. Then he pulled out of his own trade deal, right? Our word is worth nothing. It's worth a dick. And so in a scenario like that, the rest of the world goes, we don't trust the Americans. We can't rely on the Americans. The Americans are liars. The Americans are psychos. The Americans are unhinged. So they're working around America, making deals with each other, looking more towards China to be a global leader. And in that scenario, they're merely tolerating the dollar at the moment as the world reserve currency. But, they're not going to, nobody's going to keep investing in the U.S. Nobody's going to keep. And the other thing is, and this is an even longer conversation, but now we're beginning to see some evidence. There's some articles that came out over the past couple days, some evidence that the AI bubble is about to burst. And woo, buddy, when that bubble bursts, it's going to be a lot of pain, dog. It's going to be a lot of pain. I don't know how many of you were old enough to remember this, but the internet bubble burst. Remember that? I believe it was in the late 90s that the internet bubble burst. And that was a lot of pain for a lot of people. Right? Then you had the subprime mortgage crisis and the Great Recession in 2008. A lot of pain for a lot of people. Pandemic, same thing. But now, basically one of the few things propping up the economy is this colossal bubble, all of this malinvestment that's happening with these AI companies that are promising the sun, the moon, and the stars. They're promising AI is going to solve every problem we've ever had, and it's going to suck your dick, and it's going to, finger your asshole, and it's going to do whatever, right? And come to find out, a lot of these AI models are absolute trash. Not only that, China has already proven they're way ahead of the U.S. So at some point, the fun's going to stop, the party's going to stop, and the bubble's going to burst. And then at that point, we're going to have a massive economic downturn. Massive economic downturn. So that's where we're heading now. And the question is, what thing is going to give out first? Because we have so many issues with our economy, and working people are struggling so hard to get by. And it's already the fucking gig economy. There already is no safety. Back in the day, it was like you had a factory town, your dad had a union job at the factory, you could then have a union job at the factory, you can make enough money, live a decent life, etc. Now it's the fucking gig economy. Now it's like, everybody now is either going to be like a DoorDash or Uber Eats driver, or they're going to join ICE and start rounding up innocent people and sending them to concentration camps. That's what's happening to our economy right now, right? That's what's happening. That, or you work a cashier somewhere in the service sector, or you're a waiter or some shit like that's it. That's it. It's that, and then you got Elon Musk, who's going to be worth $1 trillion in short order. So the insane Gilded Age income and wealth inequality. And why aren't we grabbing our pitchforks? I don't know. You tell me, dog. You tell me. As soon as Americans realize, hey, the problem isn't trans people and immigrants, that's what MAGA wants you to believe it is. As soon as they realize that, then we're having a conversation. Then it's like, oh, wait, the problem actually is the billionaires and the fascists. Yes, wake up. They're the ones that are destroying absolutely everything. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You want to.